So my name's James Podsiadly. I'm the founder and CEO of AFL Max. Very fortunate to be a former AFL football player with the Adelaide Crows and Geelong Cats. And from a speaking perspective with corporates and community, I do a fair bit of speaking around leadership, team building, team connection, and health and wellbeing. Good question about the importance of health. I think it feels like it's different in both careers now. Leading a business versus playing sport. I think when you're playing sport, your focus around health is about being injury free and doing everything you can to make sure that you're preparing really well and that you can be there on game day, essentially in the AFL sense. So not a lot is sort of focused on the stuff that people outside of that world do when it comes to mental health and being physically active, because it's just part of your day-to-day, right? So it's more about preventing injuries. Whereas now I think, leading a business and leading a team, it's very much around the energy I get or that I need to do those things I get from living an active and healthy lifestyle. The stigma around men's health and men's mental health in particular is real, and it does exist. And I think we're starting to see, I suppose, the next generation of young men feel a bit more comfortable in talking about it with each other. But, my generation, maybe a little bit younger, and the older generation of men struggle to talk about it and struggle to prioritise it. And we see it all the time. I mean, there's been so much education around it, but clearly there's still a gap between what we know and what we do as men. So, I'm the same. Like I think that I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, but I still struggle to talk to friends and family or others around how I'm feeling and my own health and, I suppose, well-being journey too. So it is a challenge, and men probably tend to internalize some of those things. From me personally, and everyone's got a different story, I think when it comes to leading a business now and the person that you were when you played sport, I think I really struggled with the differences. I think when you play sport, your name, your brand's attached to what you do on a weekend, and if you have a good game, you feel better about yourself. If you have a poor game, you feel poor about yourself. And I think it was a lot easier in that sort of it was a bit more black and white for me, that if I put the work in, I was likely to have a better game, and I felt better about myself more often. But I think in business now, I really struggled early around that you put the work in, but you didn't see the results, and then you probably internalize that a lot, saying, and the voice inside your head saying, "Am I good enough to do this?" Etc. So I think I definitely got pretty anxious at the start of my business journey, and definitely struggled with those mental sort of words and self-doubt. And I think the struggle that potentially elite athletes have as they transition into whatever the career they're doing is that level of high performance that you had for so long. You expect that to continue, and you expect the results to continue, but it's a different world and it's a different beast. So I definitely battled internally around that sort of period of startup launch, etc., when things were tough, and I couldn't work out how to actually drive I suppose myself and whatnot. And I did get some help, and saw someone that actually just contextualized everything for me and simplified things. Look, my personal opinion about healthy habits are they're critical, and they are they can be somewhat hard to establish, but the definition of a habit is once you've established it, it's actually challenging to break it. So my advice to people, and whether it's my business networks now or some of my elite sports stuff, if you develop the habit, the likelihood of you breaking it is going to be tough. So my own personal world, yes, I've got a few healthy habits that I do religiously. I think the most important one is exercise. I think there's so many more benefits that we don't realize. There's the physical benefits, but there's a lot of research now when it comes to the mental health benefits of exercise. So my priority in this space is definitely exercise, and finding the time to do that every day is critical. And a lot of people are really busy, but for me, it's being a bit more direct with people and saying, just get up earlier. Get up earlier and do the half an hour walk. It doesn't have to be intense. Do the half an hour gym session or whatever it is before the workday starts, before your family get up, before the kids get up, etc. So that's a habit that I've now got, and I'm trying to exercise relatively early in the morning, and it's every day. I try and create some variety in my exercise too. I think that's the other thing, that when you're developing a habit, people get a little bit some of their exercise routines get a bit mundane and a bit boring, and they sort of drop it. So my massive belief is variety, and doing a different run or a different gym exercise or weight session or whatever it is every day. So that's critical. And I think the other thing around the priorities piece is understanding what leads to better health. So yes, exercise is probably the main thing, but there's better nutrition, better sleep, make sure you stay connected with people. So finding time for all those things and prioritizing those things is also critical. And I think once that's established, it's hard to break. A lot of people in my previous career is like, you have to train or be active to perform, and it was all based on that. And when you leave that environment, it's like, what is my motivation to exercise? And you sort of feel lost a couple of years there. But now I've found that my motivation to exercise is not about the external benefits or me looking good or being able to perform on a weekend. It's around, it gives me energy to be able to perform mentally when it comes to work. And two, I think, I've got a young 2.5-year-old who's full of energy, and I want to be that dad that is active with Ted for his whole childhood. So if I'm not active now, I won't be active then, and I want to be able to be that dad as well. So that motivates me. It's a good question. I think, if I start by saying being a dad has probably now changed the way I view these things a little bit, and instantaneously you're a role model that is someone that is there 24/7. And I know that elite athletes are said to be role models for people from the outside, but when you've got kids, you're definitely a role model straight away. So being able to, I see now is I'll go to the gym or I'll go for a run or a walk, and my son Ted will want to copy me straight away. So it's like, that's awesome. If I swing a golf club or a tennis racket or kick a footy, he's there as well. And it's like, well, that's great. So that might be instilling that habit in him that, dad's active, so I've got to be active too. And I think the other thing that I've also realized in this space is, he's only 2.5, so you don't have these conversations that are really, really deep. But if we can, as parents, create safe spaces for our kids to feel comfortable to talk about anything like the stuff we're discussing here on mental health or challenging times or, problems they need to solve, I think that's really important to me. So, being able to create that safe space, whether it's at home or a place that you go, is also something that's important. And hopefully the next generation of kids and in my case Ted feels really comfortable coming to me or coming to his friends to talk about mental health in the future. I think the first word that you mentioned there around this stigma when it comes to men's health and mental health that does exist. And I always wonder why is there a stigma? And, maybe some of the theories out there are, it's not macho for a man to talk about his feelings and etc. But I actually think that the conversations I've had with men in this topic, or if I've gone to someone about it, they always say, oh, that's actually courageous that you've actually come out and said something. And you see some of the media stuff with personalities that have come out and said, I'm struggling with mental health, or I've got some health issues, etc. Everyone sort of says how courageous it is. So it's almost like it's the opposite to what we think it is internally, which is really interesting. I mean, being proactive in this space too is really, really important. I mean, we talked about the modalities that keep you healthy in exercise and great nutrition and sleep too, but there's some other stuff that might come up with men in particular where whether they're struggling mentally or there's some physical ailments that they might have, and us as men potentially just go, she'll be right next week, she'll be right in a month. But seeing a professional or going to the doctor or whatever it is shouldn't be delayed, really. It shouldn't be delayed. So I think that's pretty black and white, but we do tend to, as men, tend to take the she'll be right approach a lot more than maybe women. The answer in terms of having these conversations in group settings and having someone facilitate them, in my experience, the results and the impact has been profound. And I think that, there's businesses that I've worked with that still reach out and thank me for the work that we've done, which is nice, but it's realistically they've done the work. I've just facilitated it. But what we do see is it actually leads to greater performance too. So every business wants a return on an investment, etc. And sometimes these things are really hard to put in numbers. But when it comes to people feeling better about themselves, people understanding their health and well-being in a workplace or in any setting, it will lead, and it does lead, to high performance. And in business, it'll eventually hit the bottom line, essentially. So in the work that I've done and the work that we do in that leadership space, I've got a strong philosophy that, any leadership program needs to start with self and your own self-leadership. And to me, self-leadership is around, your ability to bring energy to a group. And what gives you energy? Well, it's actually being healthy. Exercise, good nutrition, good sleep, connecting with people, all those sort of things we've discussed already. And then there's ignoring the things or don't doing the things that decrease your energy. So I think, we've developed a leadership program it's called the 4-quarter leadership program, which has got 4 of those pillars. The first one is around energy. The second one's around making sure we understand the purpose of the group, the purpose of the team, the purpose of you as an individual. The third pillar is around connection and building relationships, building trust within a group, and having really clear communication tools to do that. And then the last pillar in this leadership program is around performance. And it's about setting goals, KPIs, and just getting it done as an individual leader, as a team too. So the work that I've done is definitely built around that framework. And, I just love seeing people grow and develop in this space. Yeah, I think when it comes to men's health, clearly the thing that we need to get out of it is men to prioritise it. That's the first and I suppose most important thing, and prioritising it through time and resources is probably what we're speaking about. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing for me is once you prioritise it, make sure you have conversations, seek some expertise, speak to some friends, etc., around your own health and what you can be doing. So, yeah, prioritize it and connect with people is probably the two things that I'd say to men.